What's up, peoples? In this video we will be looking at the Hindu God Shiva, which means auspicious one in Sanskrit, and who is one of the main deities of Hinduism, and worshipped as the supreme god by his followers. Shiva is one of the most complex gods of India, embodying seemingly contradictory qualities. He is the destroyer and the restorer, the great ascetic and the symbol of sensuality, the benevolent herdsman of souls and the wrathful avenger. Among his most common epithets are Shambhu, the benign, Shankara, beneficent, Mahesha, the great lord, and Mahadeva, the great god. He is also called Mahayogi, or the great ascetic, who symbolises the highest form of austere penance and abstract meditation, which results in salvation. Shiva was originally known as Rudra, a minor deity addressed only 3 times in the Rig Veda. He gained importance after absorbing some of the characteristics of an earlier fertility god and became Shiva, part of the trinity with Vishnu, the protector, and Brahma, the creator, who acknowledged him as the supreme power after he emerged from a pillar that appeared in front of them when they were arguing about each other's predominance and importance in the universe. Shiva is represented in a variety of forms, in a pacific mood with his consort Parvati and son Skanda, as the cosmic dancer, the Nataraja, as a naked ascetic, as a beggar, as a yogi, as a Dalit accompanied by a dog, and as the androgynous union of Shiva and his consort in one body, half male and half female, the Ardhanarishvara. He is both the great ascetic and the master of fertility, and he is the master of both poison and medicine, through his ambivalent power over snakes. As lord of cattle, he is the benevolent herdsman, or at times, the merciless slaughterer of the beasts that are the human souls in his care. Although some of the combinations of roles may be explained by Shiva's identification with earlier mythological figures, they arise primarily from a tendency in Hinduism to see complementary qualities in a single figure. In Hinduism, the universe is thought to regenerate in cycles. Shiva destroys the universe at the end of each cycle, which then allows for a new creation. The term destruction, as it relates to Shiva's cosmic duties, can be deceiving. Shiva is often thought to destroy negative presences such as evil, ignorance, and death. It is also the destruction created by Shiva that allows for positive recreation, just like someone may melt down and so destroy old pieces of metal during the process of creating a beautiful piece of art. It is for this reason that Shiva holds a complementary role to Brahma, the god of creation. Shiva protects souls until they are ready for recreation at the hands of Brahma. Shiva is also the great ascetic, abstaining from all forms of indulgence and pleasure, concentrating rather on meditation as a means to find perfect happiness. He also has a darker side as the leader of the evil spirits, ghosts, and as the master of thieves, villains, and beggars. Shiva is the patron of yogis and Brahmins, and also the protector of the Vedas, the sacred texts. Shiva's wife is Parvati, often incarnated as Kali and Durga. She was in fact a reincarnation of Sati, the daughter of the god Daksha. Shiva is also sometimes paired with Shakti, the embodiment of power. The divine couple, together with their sons, Skanda, the god of war, and the elephant-headed Ganesha, the lord of obstacles, are said to dwell on Mount Kailash in the Himalayas. The 6-headed Skanda is said to have been born of Shiva's seed, which was shed in the mouth of the god of fire Agni, and transferred first to the river Ganges and then to 6 of the stars in the constellation of the Pleiades. According to another myth, Ganesha was born when Parvati created him out of the dirt she rubbed off during a bath, to keep her company and protect her while Shiva went on his meditative wanderings. However, Shiva returned one day and finding the boy guarding the room where Parvati was bathing, he inquired who he was. Not believing the boy was his son, and thinking him an impudent beggar, Shiva called up the Bhutagana's demons, who fought the boy and eventually managed to distract him with the appearance of the beautiful Maya, and, while he admired the beauty, they chopped off his head. At the commotion, Parvati rushed from her bath and screamed that her son had been killed. Realizing his error, Shiva then sent for a new head with which to make the boy whole again, but the nearest at hand was of an elephant, and so Ganesha, the elephant-headed god, was born. Another son of Shiva is Kuvera, the god of treasures. Often cited as an example of perfect marriage, Shiva and his consort Parvati is represented in the Ardhanarishwar form, which is a half-male and half-female icon. It is believed that this androgynous form shows that the masculine energy, Purusha, and the feminine energy, Prakriti, of the universe is combined. Generally, Shiva is the symbolism of ultimate masculinity, but in this form, his one half is a fully developed woman. According to myth, Shiva was in an ecstatic condition, and because of that, Parvati was drawn to him. After Parvati did many things to woo him and sought all kinds of help, they got married. Once they were married, Shiva wanted to share whatever was his experience. Parvati said, "I also want to experience this state that you are in within yourself. What should I do? Tell me. I am willing to do any kind of austerity." Shiva smiled and said, "There is no need for you to do any great austerity. You just come and sit on my lap." Parvati came and, with absolutely no resistance towards him, sat on his left lap. Since she was so willing, since she had placed herself totally in his hands, he just pulled her in and she became half of him. According to some, Shiva had to shed half of himself to accommodate her in his own body, and symbolizes that the masculine and the feminine are equally divided within a person, and when he included Parvati, he became ecstatic. As with any major god, Shiva was involved in many adventures which illustrate the virtuous character and offer instruction on how to live correctly. For example, self-sacrifice is emphasized when Vasuki, the king of serpents, threatened to vomit snake venom across the seas. Shiva took the form of a giant turtle, collected the venom in the palm of his hand, and drank it. The poison burnt his throat and left a permanent blue scar. Hence one of his many titles became Nilakantha, or Blue Throat. Another myth describes how Shiva became associated with the bull Nandi. One day, Surabhi, who was the original mother of all the world's cows, began to give birth to an untold number of perfectly white cows. The milk from all these cows flooded the home of Shiva. Angry at this disturbance to his meditation, the god struck the cows with fire from his third eye. In consequence, patches of the cows' hides were turned brown. Still angry, the other gods sought to calm Shiva down by offering him a magnificent bull, Nandi, the son of Surabhi and Kasyapa, which Shiva accepted and rode. And so Nandi became Shiva's vehicle in the world, and also the protector of all animals. A sculpture of Nandi sits opposite the main sanctuary of many Shiva temples. In temples and in private shrines, Shiva is also worshipped in the form of the lingam, a cylindrical votary object that is often embedded in a yoni, or a spouted dish. Following the death of Sati, and before her reincarnation, Shiva was in mourning and went to the Daru forest to live with rishis, or sages. However, the wives of the rishis soon began to take an interest in Shiva. In jealousy, the rishis first sent a large antelope and then a gigantic tiger against the god, but Shiva swiftly dealt with them and wore the tiger skin thereafter. The sages then cursed Shiva's manhood, which, in consequence, fell off. When the phallus struck the ground, earthquakes began, and the rishis became afraid and asked for forgiveness. This was given, but Shiva told them to forever after worship the phallus as the symbolic linga. In this form, Shiva is regarded as a reproductive power, which restores what has been dissolved and is a symbol of regeneration. In painting and sculptures, Shiva is usually depicted as white, from the ashes of corpses that are smeared on his body, with a blue neck, from holding in his throat the poison that emerged at the churning of the cosmic ocean, which threatened to destroy the world. His hair is arranged in a coil of matted locks and adorned with the crescent moon and the Ganges. According to legend, He brought the Ganges river to earth from the sky, where she is the Milky Way, by allowing the river to trickle through his hair, thus breaking her fall. He often has 3 horizontal stripes and a 3rd vertical eye on his forehead, his 3rd eye bestowing inward vision, but capable of burning destruction when focused outward. There is an interesting story behind the 3rd eye of Shiva. One day when Shiva was meditating, Parvati thought of playing a game with him. She came from behind and closed his eyes with both her hands. It is believed that the right eye of Shiva represents the sun, and the left eye represents the moon. Closing his eyes led to chaos everywhere as the universe sunk into darkness. Immediately, Shiva created the 3rd eye on his forehead with his divine powers to emit fire. Also, the heat from the fire caused Parvati's hands to sweat. The sweat, combined with the powers of both Shiva and Parvati, transformed into their child called Andaka. Shiva is also known as wearing a garland of skulls and a serpent around his neck, and carries in his hands a deerskin, a trident, a small hand drum, or a club with a skull at the end. The skull identifies Shiva as Kapalika, the skull bearer, and refers to a time when he cut off the 5th head of Brahma, which he decapitated as punishment for the god lusting after his own daughter, Sandhya. The head stuck to his hand until he reached Varanasi, a city sacred to Shiva. It then fell away, and the shrine for the cleansing of all sins, known as the releasing of the skull, was later established in the place where it landed. In this guise, he also usually represents Nataraja and performs the Tandava cosmic dance within a circle of fire, which represents the never-ending cycle of time. He holds the divine fire which destroys the universe and the drum which makes the first sounds of creation. One hand is raised in blessing and protection, and another points to his left foot, a symbol of salvation. He also stamps one foot on the dwarf figure Apasmara Purusha, who represents illusion and who leads people away from the truth. As always, thank you so very much for watching. Please support me by subscribing to the channel and liking and sharing the video. Till next time, bye bye.